don't think we do.
Okay.
Oh, yes. So that's I assume most folks know, but if not, the SYRCL Wild and Scenic Film Festival is taking place starting next Thursday through next weekend. And yes, we are going to be having a wildfire resilience panel focused on a film called Fire Forest, which is about the Cameron Peak fire in Colorado, and specifically around how forest treatments in the fire burn scar stop the spread of that specific fire. And we will have a panel afterwards with a few local folks on it. So Alex Keeble-Toll from Nevada County OES will be on that panel, as well as Jeff Lauder with Sierra Streams Institute, and then a retired Nature Conservancy fire ecologist named Edward Smith will be on the panel as well. I will be moderating the panel, and the filmmaker, whose name is Evan Barrientos, will be on the panel too. So we do have kind of a flyer that outlines information specifically about that film. We also, of course, have a ton of information on the Film Fest more broadly that I think we could include links to both of those in the notes for the meeting today. So it should be a good conversation. It's looking at a fire that's in a different region, but had similar impact to some of the big, huge fires we've had in our region. Talks about forest health treatments and how they can, it illustrates exactly on the ground when a fire hits treatments. And then we'll have a kind of range of perspectives on the panel around, from planning, from the county's perspective to a science perspective. So yeah, it should be great. We'll make sure to get that link out so people can look at the flyer. It's also on the SYRCL's Instagram page if you follow that.
On Saturday.
Yeah, the panel's on Sunday.
Oh, it's on Sunday. Okay.
Yes, Sunday the 17th. Sunday the 16th. Okay, I think that's it for SYRCL. So let's open the floor to other updates from either. If you are online and have an update, you could either raise your hand or just speak up. And if you're in the room,
I can go.
I can't see.
Joanne? Oh, sorry.
Joanne can go.
Hi. I'm reporting for the Nevada County Resource Conservation District. And unfortunately, like many other, our prescribed fire education program was with a federal grant. However, I want to report that so far this year, we've had 17 workshops, including 6 prescribed burns that we jammed in mostly January.
Yeah. Oh, wait,
Okay.
will you start over? Because we lost everyone for a minute. Thanks.
Okay. I'm reporting for the Nevada County Resource Conservation District. And the first thing I'll talk about is our current prescribed fire education grant. And the second thing is the one that we're applying for this year that's more of an implementation grant. But we're on hold because it's a federal grant with a prescribed fire education. But so far this year, we've had 17 workshops, including 6 prescribed burns, 38 site visits, 30 Firewise communities. We've reached 20 community outreach events, and we've had 332 attendees at our courses and workshops, and that includes 42 freshmen from SAIL who did a marvelous job building control line for an elderly community member. I'm working right now on a grant for the 2025 Community Wildfire Defense Grants, and the focus is going to be on implementing maintenance systems, mostly prescribed fire, but also some grazing. And we're going to leverage off some existing projects, including the roadside fuel break project that the Tahoe National Forest has, the South Yuba Rim fuel break, and then in the Jones Fire area, all of the work that Sierra Streams Institute has done. And there we're working directly with CHIRP and on the Ulicha property. So we're going to the next phase of helping people prepare their sites and do the burns. That's it.
Wonderful.
That's it. Joanne, is there anything that you'd like us to share out about, either on the newsletter or with our network notes around any of these updates or projects?
Sure, I can send you the list of all our accomplishments and a little summary of our grant that we're working
Yes,
on.
that would be great.
Okay, I'll
Yes,
do
that'd
that.
be great.
All right.
Lovely. Okay, we can stick with online and then come to the room. So Amanda, I think you're up next.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Amanda Milici. I am the Outreach and Communications Specialist for the Tahoe Central Sierra Initiative, TCSI. And my big update is that I'm actually, some of you already know this, but I am leaving this position effective February 21st, so in a couple weeks. But the update that I mainly wanted to share is that we are flying the position. They're rehiring for it, so I just wanted to post it in the chat. If folks want to share it out with their networks, please feel free to do so. And in the meantime, Ray, who's here, will continue to be like best point of contact for anything data or project tracker related. And then our TCSI coordinator will be Maya Greenwood. She's the best point of contact for anything other than the project tracker. And we're hoping to have someone hired by early spring. So that is my big update. And Ray, I don't know if you had any other updates about the project tracker or anything.
Yeah, I could speak real quick. Also, Alex asked you what you're doing, Amanda.
I am actually fully pivoting and I'm going to nursing school. So it's a big change, but very bittersweet. Had a great time at TCSI and especially working with this group. It's all been great, but change is good. So
Yeah, send out to your people, whoever wants to work with me, hang out, woo. But yeah, project tracker stuff, a lot of it too is like, I'm about to send out a full data request. If you guys get it, please let me know. I'm going to start sending it out, and I have particular people. I think everyone that already puts data into the stakeholder mapping tool, I've already reached out to beforehand. But I'll also continue talking about that in the stakeholder mapping tool group primarily. So no big updates besides Amanda.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Amanda, and congrats and good luck. That's exciting. Okay, great. So we can help get the word out maybe in our next newsletter or otherwise for your position. And it looks like Joe, you're up next for updates.
Hey, good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
With Sierra Pacific Industries, just wanted to update that we got the NEPA signed this week for our collaborative fuel break project that we're doing up in the Pike Magnus Orchard area. It's about 8.25 miles of shaded fuel break on the SPI property and another 1.5 miles to connect the fuel break that's going to be on Tahoe National Forest property. And so we're looking forward to getting started on that here very soon. We've got a meeting scheduled with the forest next week and hoping to get most of that fuel break implemented and completed in this calendar year.
That's great. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Definitely exciting. Fuel breaks are good news usually. Okay, great. I think that's it for our updates on the screen. So do we have any, Chris?
Yeah.
I know you had something.
Yeah, Joe, we'll be reaching out to you to get shape files because we'd love to get that on our map.
Yeah.
Speaking of the map, I've got a few grant updates that are specific or relevant to this group. One is that we were successful, Yuba Watershed Institute was successful in getting a micro grant from the Sierra Institute's SYRCL program to support the Yuba Forest Network. And so it's a small grant, it's only $10,000, but it's going to pay for the YWI to assist YFN with updating the mapping tool and doing some of these behind the scenes changes to some of the layers that we've been discussing in our subcommittees, and then also coordinating with the county on integrating the mapping tool with the county's CWPP dashboard. And Theo, who's here, is actually going to be the one who's going to be the point person for that. The grant also does include some money for Theo to help organize field tours, and also to do some outreach to CHIRP and other tribal entities to see how we can how we can help each other. So it's an exciting little chunk of money that I hope will help YFN with some capacity. And then that we're supposed to get that grant award signed next week. I just heard from SYRCL Institute that we're going to get going on that soon. Another grant that or grant possibility that has come through is the Yuba Watershed Institute applied on behalf of Yuba Forest Network to for this community, the Yuba Forest Network region of interest, to be a partner community for Conservation X Labs Fire Grand Challenge. For those of you who don't know about it, it's funded mostly by the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, and the idea is to provide seed money and a little bit of a competition to try to get innovations going in the forestry space and fire management space. And so that process has already begun. Basically, there's about 24 innovators who've come up with some kind of technological or kind of socio-cultural innovation that they want to implement, and they're looking for community partners. And they run the gamut from AI and GIS-based applications to robotics and kind of drone-based applications. There's a whole bunch of other categories, but we're going to get the list of those innovators on Monday, and then next week there's going to be a matchmaking process. And so I'll let you guys know and keep you informed. Obviously, we're going to be, if we are chosen, we're a semi-finalist, and if we are chosen to be a finalist in partnership with an innovator, I'll definitely be reaching out to some of you guys, because we'll need places, landscapes to kind of field test these innovations. Kat and Anne Marie are also on my little steering committee for this grant opportunity, so we'll let you guys know how that goes. And then the third thing I wanted to say was that I think it was the last quarterly meeting where I made a presentation. It was an in-person meeting about this concept of the South Yuba River Canyon as a priority area where there's already a lot of projects happening, but there's a potential for us to kind of fill in the gaps. And I've been thinking about this as a great area for collaboration. And I just wanted to say that we did apply in collaboration with Nevada County OES for a CAL FIRE Forest Health grant. And we basically just were looking for shovel-ready projects within that area. So areas that already had NEPA and CEQA complete. And in January, Nevada County OES submitted a grant application to CAL FIRE's Forest Health Program. The main project partners were, in addition to the county, were Yuba Watershed Institute, American Rivers, and CHIRP, the California Heritage Indigenous Research Project. Those three partners would actually be sub-recipients of the grant, but then the other partners, project stakeholders, are BLM, Tahoe National Forest, Sierra Streams Institute, and kind of a guiding capacity for the Jones Bar area, and then other private landowners who will receive some of the treatments. I'm not sure what the total grant amount was, somewhere between 6 million, somewhere between, it's getting up to the $7 million cap, and the estimated acreage to be treated is about 1,867. So it's kind of a large project, spread over 5 different areas: Inman Forest, Tahoe National Forest, Bear Trap Springs area, the Round Mountain area, which is BLM and private lands, the Hoyt Purdon project, which is the American Rivers and Terra Fuego project on private land, and then the Ulicha property, which CHIRP is managing and owning. This funding source is really tight and competitive this year. There's only $70 million for the state. And so if each project is requesting 7 million, that's only 10 projects in the state that are going to get funded. So we don't know our chances, but we got our fingers crossed. I think it would be great for for this whole cooperative effort and kind of getting it going. So yeah, that's our update.
Is it being called the South Yuba Rim? Do you know?
We called it the South Yuba River Forest Resilience Project.
South Yuba River Forest. Okay.
Yes.
And is that Bear Trap Springs? That's not Bear Trap, is the one in the North Yuba.
Is there a bear trap in the North
Yeah.
Yuba too?
Okay, that's I was like, wait,
Yeah.
that's weird.
I think that's okay.
No, this one's up on the San Juan.
Okay.
Ah, interesting. Wow.
The Bear Trap.
Excellent updates.
Bear traps, trapping bears out there.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks. Anybody else in-house have any $7 million grants? Okay.
And then Swati joined, maybe check in with her, also see if she has an update.
Oh, yes. Shabati, hi, thanks for joining. And we just wrapped up updates, but if you have any county info you want to share, feel free.
Hi guys, sorry I was late and I missed all the updates. No, we're gonna resume our South Yuba River safety cohort meetings next week, Tuesday. So you're welcome to join if you're not already part of that. Just let me know in the text. And that's of course focused mostly on safety, but I did apply for a Catalyst grant just to get my, brain around the different projects we could do. It's more of a workforce grant and it's only like $250,000, but I thought I'll apply to at least get it ready for future grants that we may want to apply for. We're in budget season right now, so I'll be working with my ad hoc committee, which are supervisors Rob Tucker and Hardy Bullock. And definitely South Yuba River projects are part of that I'll be proposing, that we either fund or support as far as grant writing priorities. Yes, part of that will be the river ambassadors too, because they're important. That's all I have for now.
Okay.
Thanks.
Gotta go back. I'm trying to think what happened in the last quarter of interest. So maybe you guys have already heard this, but we do currently have a permanent forest supervisor that's supposed to be showing up on forest in the April, May timeline. And he's new to the state. So that's really exciting. We haven't had permanent leadership in place for about a year now. So that's really good news for us. And then I don't know if you guys have already talked about it, but we received $5 million last year for through the CWRP program. And we were actually that money made it to the forest and we were able to get it obligated. So that's exciting. It's the majority of it's at the county to do work, roadside fields work. And then there is a little bit that was going to go to SYRCL, and we're still waiting on final signature on that. But
What does that stand
What's
for?
it? Yeah.
CWRP, it's like, gosh,
Community.
community wildfire risk. No, it's collaborative wildfire risk reduction program. It was an IRA program, Inflation Reduction Act program. So it was probably just kind of like a one-time thing. And it was funds to go to support WCS work outside of a WCS landscape. And so the pot Tahoe got, it's been split between 3 projects. One on Sierraville District, one on American River, and then the project we're working on with the county.
And that's the good neighbor agreement? Is that
It's a second good neighbor agreement. We have 2 good neighbor agreements with the county.
for roadside?
With Nevada County.
Yeah, with Nevada County, one with Sierra County.
Okay, cool.
Chris, did you have a question for Kat, or did you have an update?
Well, just comment or question. So I had heard in discussions yesterday that the several new forest supervisor positions are probably stalled for the indefinite future because of what's going on with federal government. We don't have confirmation on that, but I don't know if that was something you were aware of or not as a possible
aware.
issue. Okay.
Yeah, I'm aware. We're optimistic moving forward right now under the assumption that you'll be here.
Okay.
TBD.
TBD.
March to June. That
Yeah.
feels.
Let's
that
put the
feels good.
spring.
April, May.
Still spring at IL.
He's still very excited to come, so we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
If it falls through, maybe we can just elect Kat as the interim. You have my vote.
I'm going for Blaine Inglis. I'm thinking about making Blaine for Forest.
Aw. Sweet.
And then,
Yeah.
do you have any like public meetings or anything or additional outreach for Forest Service?
We had 2 public meetings last week for Rod 2, one in Camptonville, one in this in the San Juan Ridge area, but I don't, not that I'm aware of right now as far as both meetings. Oh, we also did this week. We got to do some prescribed fire. So around Madrone Springs, I think they accomplished around 27 acres, and then also some burning on the landscape. So,
Yeah. So much.
but yeah,
going on.
not aware of any public meetings, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah. Objection meetings. That's not later.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, cool, excellent. Thanks, everybody. Alrighty, well, let's move into our presentations. We are going to start with Carson Clark with NFF. And I believe I'm pulling that up.
Well, I got it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like I still should pull that up for us in the room. Right?
So if you have it shared on the teams, then you can, I'll have it pulled up on the team so you can see it because it'll be shared for everyone.
Okay, wait, what?
Yeah, maybe just share yours, Amory, and then let's see how it's.
Yeah.
So I can still.
I just keep it for a second. Let's see what. Make sure we don't have like some weird duplication.
Glitch.
And then you still need to have the teams open for that. So maybe we can get this.
I mean, that's fairly decent. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But it's a little hard when it's not in browser, but we can make it work. Okay, so
Is everyone on the screen seeing the presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
okay, thank you guys.
Yeah, it's great for us.
Great. And Carson, if you want to click through, I can have you click through on my mouse here.
Sure.
All right.
Why not? Thank you very much. If I just click, it'll change slides. Is that?
I think so. Yeah.
Hey, look at that. It actually works. Okay. Good morning, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Carson Clark with the National Forest Foundation. I'm the Central Sierra Program Manager, and my focus of work is managing and implementing forest health, fuels reduction, wildfire resiliency, and community resiliency projects within the North Yuba landscape. Just kind of giving some background, I'm sure we all are familiar. The North Yuba landscape was one of the first 11 landscapes identified as the wildfire crisis strategy landscapes. It encompasses about 275,000 acres or so. And we actually have some pre-existing NEPA decisions and project footprints that are operating simultaneously within this footprint. Am I clicking the right spot?
Oh no, you're not. You're not. Can you move over this way to the right? There we go.
Over here?
Yes.
Hey, okay, perfect. This is just an identifier of some of the projects that NFF has within the landscape itself. We first started kind of in the northeast quadrant with our pilot Yuba project. Oh, that's so helpful.
Yeah.
And this was a composition of general small tree thinning. We had some commercial thinning out there, roadside and campground hazard tree removal. We are also performing some meadow and aspen conifer encroachment removal. So we were kind of just getting figuring out kind of where NFF fits in the landscape, fits within the partners that are already here, and how we can add capacity to the work that is already occurring out here. Our new focus is transitioning from that northeast kind of to the central and southwest portion of the landscape. There within the Trapper, New Bullards, Camp Pendola area, and then of course the first record of decision, or our sub project 1, that has come out underneath the North Yuba Landscape and Resiliency Environmental Impact Statement. As NFF continues to take on work, we're really focusing on trying to increase those buzzwords, pace and scale across the landscape here. And to do so, we're pulling on additional folks. Just within the last 3 years, we've grown from a team of 1, just myself here in the landscape, to a team of 5 of us now, trying to implement this work. We partner with the Forest Service as well as the other partners in the North Yuba Forest Partnership to get this work on the ground. NFF's real role is taking kind of the NEPA decisions that our partners plan, analyze for, and sign, and we take those NEPA decisions and operationalize those to have the best impact on the ground, meeting those NEPA standards and criteria. I'm going to talk just about a specific project area here, which is our Trapper footprint. I'm focusing on this one here a little bit today, just to focus on that treatment determination and different pieces of equipment and treatment prescriptions that we utilize to make sure that we're getting this work done. The reason I'm picking the Trapper project specifically is we are in full-fledged implementation. This is under the Trapper EA, so we've gone through the NEPA analysis. We've gone through the ground truthing, layout, prep, and design of these projects, and are moving into and finalizing implementation on these project areas. The Trapper project area for NFF consists of 4 projects. We have 2 timber sales that also have fuel reduction and biomass utilization components, as well as road reconstruction components associated with those. Those 2 projects are our Graveyard project and our Slayville project, encompassing about 6,000 acres or so of those forest health treatments. The other 2 projects on the same landscape or the same EA footprint are our Trapper Fuels projects. These are projects that are solely focused on understory removal on that 10-inch or less diameter removal. We do have some instances in WUI threat and WUI defense zones that we actually increase that diameter limit up to 14 inches. But for the most part, 10 and under is kind of our focus for these fuels projects. The Trapper Stream Flow Enhancement and Trapper Pack projects are those 2 identified projects out there, encompassing about 2,000 acres. So within the Trapper EA itself, we're focusing on about 8,000 acres out there in total. I'm going to talk a little bit here about the methods and equipment we use for this type of work. You can see in the center there, we have a hand crew. These fuels projects are really identified as fuel projects due to limiting factors such as resources, terrain, and vegetation type. And I'll be getting into kind of the breakdown of those. But for this particular project, we were limited to to handwork only. So here in the middle is a crew performing that handwork. And I'll see if I can't play a quick video of those folks operating that work there. So this is them just off of Pliocene Ridge up towards Pike City. So they perform that hand crew operations. They have a couple sawyers that are cutting those trees, dragging that brush, piling that brush, and then we lean on our Forest Service partners for the ignition of those piles. In the bottom left-hand corner, you'll also see some mastication work that is occurring out there. We do have some areas that are authorized for mechanized thinning, and recognizing the cost efficiencies and work efficiencies there. We will sometimes select to use that masticator in areas that are appropriate. There are definitely some vegetation types that react very negatively to mastication. And so we try to make sure that those areas that we are performing mastication are truly fit for that system. I'll be jumping into those specifics here in a little bit. What's also cool about this project, on the right-hand side, you can see some pre and post photos. Those pre and post photos are taken with a technology system that we are contracting out through Earth Force Technologies. They provide hyperlapse photos, so they're installing cameras into the cabs, taking photos every minute for a hyperlapse video of the work being done out there. They also have GPS trackers on top of the equipment, so we could see where the equipment is moving and operating. They have audio cues to know when the equipment is just moving or operating or running, so we know when work is or is not being done. They let us know how many acres have been accomplished per day and can project that for future operations. The last piece that we're looking to add to this project is actually installing LiDAR-based equipment onto the cabs that can register species or identify species, identify tree diameters, tree spacing, and basal area. So this will be live time verification within our project areas, letting us know if those prescriptions have been met, hopefully allowing us to move forward without having to wait for the timely verification process before moving into the next area or unit.
What was the name of the company again?
Earth Force Technologies.
Earth Force Technology.
Oh, perfect. Once we perform the stages of that large tree commercial thinning, the small diameter understory vegetation removal, we always like to finish with continual maintenance through prescribed fire efforts, that being either pile burning or underburning. And this is just a quick video of some underburning that was performed with the Tahoe National Forest and with one of NFF contractors out on the Yuba project, kind of at the southeast section, kind of on the 09 road and 49. Hesitant to click. There it goes. Okay. Some of the forest treatment activities and equipment that NFF has used throughout our projects. I've already mentioned a couple of those, being the hand cut, hand pile. We'll even perform some machine cut, machine pile, machine cut, remove to landing, and utilization for either saw timber, biomass, or fuel wood. On the equipment side, mastication or harvesting via fellow buncher is also some of the ways that we remove some of those large scale commercial trees. One kind of unique piece we have there in the top right is also some girdling operations that were performed due to resource restrictions. We weren't allowed to go in and remove those trees mechanically or even fell those trees by hand due to cultural sites. We knew that we wanted to try to create habitat there for northern goshawk. So trying to reduce vegetation and create snags in the forest, we actually went around and girdled some of these trees as well. I believe I saw a hand raised from, was that you, Joseph?
Yes.
Yeah, you answered my question there at the end about the girdling.
Okay. The reason I kind of wanted to bring this one up, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, is the right system, the right equipment, the right treatment for the right vegetation type. We like I said, receive these NEPA decisions from our Forest Service partners, and these decisions have a list of potential proposed activities. And it is up to NFF to take those lists of proposed activities and really ground truth those to make sure those activities are right for the situation. Those activities can be a long list of both mechanical or hand treatments. And like I said, we work with our forestry consultants to go out to the landscape, look at the resources around and the resource restrictions, those being the soil, hydrology, biology, botany, archaeology within those sites to make sure that those systems can even be used within those resource restrictions. We're also looking at terrain type. Slope restrictions are a big one that identify whether or not mechanical versus hand equipment can be used. The last one being the vegetation type. I mentioned mastication isn't the best for all vegetation types. That comes with invasive weeds. We don't want to be moving a masticator through invasive Scotch broom and shooting those seeds everywhere. So that way we'll typically come in with hand crews and actually loft that invasive Scotch broom and burn it, or in some instances work with herbicide to treat that Scotch broom. Other vegetation types that react negatively to mastication are our resprouting species, typically our hardwoods. We work in dense areas of tan oak, and tan oak I always describe as kind of a hydra. You cut one head off and 5 sprout up in its place. If you ran a masticator through there, in a couple years, you would have a return of just large shrubby bushes, which defeats our intent and purpose of creating a more resilient forest. In those instances where we have dense tan oak or dense hardwoods, we will typically opt for hand crews, and those hand crews are performing operations that we would call hardwood culturing. They're taking and removing these multiple stems and trying to produce 1 or 2 main leaders so that that tree can grow into a tree rather than us just cutting the whole thing and creating a bush-like structure. With all this material, we need to also focus on the removal of this material from the landscape. That can be, as I mentioned, done by prescribed fire, but also by utilization. In the top left there, we have some coal or non-saw material. This is material that was cut off of some of the campground sites on the Yuba. And this was material that was not of high quality or grade to be sent to a sawmill. And it's also costly to chip that material or process that material in chips and send it to a biomass facility. So what's happening here is we kept it in round wood form and are actually sending that material to the Washoe tribe down in Gardnerville, where they are utilizing that within their Wood for Elders program, where they process it into firewood and distribute that to the local tribes. So just trying to create opportunities and different avenues to not only treat this material, but get it off the landscape without having to default to just burning that material.
Sorry, Chris, it's Fuels for Elders? Is that what the program's called?
It's the Wood for Elders. The last slide here is just kind of describing how we get to these end results. The far left is the Trapper EA proposed vegetation activities. So this is taking that list of analyzed treatments and systems, like I said, giving us a little larger of a description. So those could be commercial thinning, that could be small tree vegetation through hand cut, hand pile, mastication, machine cut, machine pile. And we really work with our foresters to refine those general prescriptions. So in the top middle there, you can actually see us refining this larger EA footprint into a smaller subsection of an operational project area, and are trying to define this project area both through its commercial thinning components, and then within those same commercial thinning units, identifying if smaller vegetation or fuel reduction is needed concurrently with that timber removal. Not all units need to have small tree thinning. Not all units need to have commercial thinning. Once again, finding the right tools for the right place and ground truthing that to ensure that those are the correct methods. We have our commercial or our contract foresters who are registered professional foresters go through ground truth those operations. They're also identifying whether or not the prescriptions, the silvicultural prescriptions, meet the intent and need of that project, ensuring that the equipment that we're proposing can have access into those units. So identifying the haul routes or temporary roads that need to be constructed to enter and access those units. And they are all identifying the resources around and making sure that we can operate within those resources. Eventually, we get to kind of that bottom right-hand figure, which is our SAIL area map. And this is what we provide to our implementation contractors. At this point, we should have a fully identified and operational project where we can hand this over to a contractor and say, this is exactly what we want. Through our advertisement process, we don't want to limit ourselves to any creative solutions. So we will say, for instance, on the graveyard project, we had commercial thinning components, and that could be performed either via tractor operations through a fellow buncher or through aerial options through like a cable yarding system where they're cutting trees, attaching that to a cable, and actually pulling those up the hill for steeper slopes. We put a larger generalization to our projects and have implementation contractors actually tell us how they can implement this project with the equipment they have. We've recognized if we just limit ourselves to one system or one operation, we may be excluding innovative processes or innovative equipment that other contractors could have to do that work that may be more effective or efficient or cost us savings. So we want to make sure that the final product is as defined as possible while still allowing for contractors to provide input. At this point, we still are bound by all of our resources that were identified in planning, all of the regulations that we have to abide by through these processes. And so what that'll look like is we may have a single unit. That unit may be identified as having some mechanical portions of it, but then there may be a resource within that same unit where we have to transition to handwork. A great example is our heritage sites, where we are allowed to perform mastication, maybe, or even commercial thinning around and outside of the buffer of that heritage site. As soon as we enter that heritage site, we have that identified and flagged in both our mappings and flagging, and we transition over to hand crews, still trying to treat the fuels within these sensitive areas, but not impact or damage those resources. I'll pause there. I know we're already a little over on time, and just see if there's any questions or areas I could go into a little bit more involved.
I have a question. You were saying that your contract would allow for either a feller buncher or cable yarding. Do you get that specific, and do you even require that they use a feller buncher, or could they use like hand felling and skidding the logs, and how specific are you getting with that?
Yeah, we will provide a prescription and just say that we want to treat from 1 inch up to 29.9 inch diameters. We will give them all of the identifiers. So maybe it's a plantation-based unit on less than 30% slope. And we just say, here is this scope of work. Tell us how you're going to do it. There are some areas that are restricted to individual systems based off of, say, slope, where we're pushing 40, 50% slope. And tractor operations cannot be performed within those slopes due to the machinery having too much of an impact on the soil structure. In those cases, we will tell a contractor this has to be done aerially. That can be done via cable yarding, or we're even getting propositions saying we'll do that via helicopter. So we just break it down into, this is ground-based tractor operations, or these are aerial-based operations. You tell us what equipment you'll bring in to do that.
Are these service contracts, stewardship contracts, or how is it working? Because if you're doing helicopter logging, I'm assuming it's not paying for itself.
Yeah.
Really none of it is.
Really, none of it is. NFF, as a partner to the United States Forest Service, works through our master stewardship agreements and our supplemental project agreements. So these are all stewardship. These projects that are given over to us as a partner are typically and not always, but typically given to us because the material will not pay for its way out. NFF, as a partner, writes grant proposals to generate funds to accomplish this work. Through the identification as a wildfire crisis strategy, our Forest Service will also obligate federal dollars to accomplish this work. But the real reason we have these as a partner is because the material is not, either the species composition or the material itself does not have value enough to pay for the work itself. So it is a lot of service work.
So as far as tracking like the revenue from timber sales or biomass sales and, crediting that to the project, it's all going through NFF, right? All the contracting?
Correct.
And so you don't have to deal with the federal contracting process for sale of the material?
Yeah, we still have to go through the transfer of ownership of that timber through the federal process, and we do that through earned stewardship credits that we have gained through spending expenditures of non-federal dollars on service work. So we still have to go through that process, but once the transfer of that timbership occurs, it's now in the ownership of the NFF. NFF with that ownership has kind of two avenues. We could either sell that material to a licensed timber operator or to a mill who will then implement that work. The other option is for NFF to go directly to a mill for the sale of that material and just do a pure labor cost on the implementation. NFF receives that timber revenue and puts it either right back into our projects or into projects within the landscape. A lot of our grants like CAL FIRE Forest Health actually have requirements that we track earned revenue and actually expend that within the same project. So depending on the funding source, there are those requirements. I didn't talk too much.
No.
Actually, oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, just so you know, Carson, if you wanted to continue on with the presentation, we do have good buffers in and everything as well, and
Okay.
we did have an extended round robin at the beginning.
Cool. Yeah, I'm curious if anyone has any other questions.
I have one quick question. With the Earth Force technology, was that part of the original contract? Like, was that budgeted in when you first budgeted the project, or did that come in later as I don't know, or were you aware that that was going to be used for the was it Trapper EA?
Yeah, it's our projects under the Trapper EA, and it was a bit of both. There were some projects that we had not identified a funding source for that, but luckily had a surplus of grant funds that were able to rearrange for that work. Other project areas like Graveyard and Slayville, we knew that we wanted to work with them as a partner and wrote those into our budgets. It is a pilot. We're still determining whether or not this is something we'd want to continue on. But really, I see the benefit coming from on the Forest Service side and just recognizing the flux that we're all in, the identification of a sale administrator. It's really challenging right now to keep up with this type of implementation. We've got many more projects coming online, and we're already finding it's hard to have really one individual running around all of our projects, all of the Forest Service projects, all of the partner projects saying this was done correctly or not. So the hope is with this verification system, we could try to create efficiencies there and help our partners out.
Is that Chris Cunningham? No. One guy.
We do have an additional people from other districts that will be supporting this year as well, but they're not sale admin. He's the guy.
I was also curious if you said you're treating in CSO packs in Trapper EA. Was that an amendment in that EA, or?
No.
I know the EIS has an amendment, but I didn't know.
Yeah, so that was actually written into the EA itself. It is very specific on when we can and cannot work within pack sites mechanically. So we have authority to work within the pack sites via hand operations. And then we have even stricter limitations around the actual activity center and nest tree, where we put a 500-foot buffer. There's no hardwood removals. The diameter limit drops down to 6 inches. So we have a lot of confines within those CSO packs, even for handwork. They then allowed an authorized small diameter, so less than 10-inch diameter mechanical thinning in select packs that were identified within WUI threat and WUI defense zones. So these were packs that also had houses within the packs themselves. So recognizing that there is multi-benefit and multi-resource going on within these units that needed additional treatment.
And does that just allow mechanical later in the year, like after?
Yeah, so
15?
we still abide by all the LOPs. We do have the ability to have work with our wildlife biologists to survey those LOPs, see if we can't get them lifted, if they're active or not. If they are active, we are restricted for all work from March. Ooh, I might botch this one. From March to September. I don't want to give
Yeah, I think
specific
September
dates.
1st, but I know, yeah, there's a couple species where sometimes September 15th.
Yeah, I think that's goshawk.
Now they're definitely fledged.
Yeah.
Questions? Also, you might be interested to know that northern goshawks are now called American goshawks. I know.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's in the rod. I know. It's like, what is this?
I'll have to make sure I correct that in my vocabulary. Thanks.
I know. It's a weird change.
But if you change it before everyone else,
Yeah,
catches up.
exactly. Yeah. They're just gonna be as confused as I am.
When you're working with the contractor, select a contractor, and they've said we want to use this kind of equipment, do you ever micromanage that? Sometimes if you know that a certain type of tractor, like say there's like a drum masticator, but you're actually wanting them to use something with a wheel.
yeah, or less weight, like less soil compaction.
Yeah.
Rubber tracks
Yeah.
versus metal.
Right.
Absolutely. There are requirements like our outside of normal operating season requirements from the federal government that require low PSI equipment to operate in certain times of the year, wet weather. So we do have those requirements written into our contractors stating that, sure, during the summer months, you can use whatever equipment you want. During this time period, you will abide by and will use this specific equipment. Outside of those limiting factors, we don't really micromanage to that point. Like I said, it's all about making sure that we are taking the experience and knowledge of those contractors to really help us in that design of the systems to be used. We have our confines and our sideboards that we allow them to work within, but we give them plenty of flexibility within there to do the work as best as the experts can do.
Thanks. And within that are some of your confines, like the size of chip material? Do you want shreds or chips and stuff?
Yeah, and those come from the end use facilities. So depending on which end use facility we're taking the material to, they will have typically those restrictions, and then we'll apply those to our contracts.
I think Theo was asking more about chips and shreds that are left on site. And then there's a lot of conversation happening locally right now about which kinds of mastication equipment and techniques will lend themselves to prescribed fire afterwards. You know, maybe the bigger, longer shreds are actually better than having like a smaller chip in a dense fuel bed that would smolder. I'm wondering if that's any conversations that you guys are having.
You know, it's not that we've had, but I absolutely think it's worthwhile. To be honest, we have been moving away from mastication, mainly from a fuels perspective. It's more of a fuels rearrangement than a fuels treatment. So we've just been recognizing that truly isn't meeting the on the ground objective and intent. So we've been moving away from that system a little bit, but yeah, like you mentioned, it probably is, if we do continue those operations, worthwhile to looking and working with fuels to see if they have any information or see any effects between the different chip lengths, left or left.
Or chip and haul, so you don't leave it on.
Mm-hmm.
Site.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Oh.
Yeah, I feel like we should move on to Alicia's presentation.
There's some of the stuff.
I
that's on
want,
that-
yeah, I was gonna say there might be some overlap. If there's time at the end, I'm curious, Carson, if you could share a little bit about your anticipation of how the Infidel facility might support some of your needs.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that if we have time. If not,
Would love to talk about that. What are we?
okay, great.
Okay.
We'll give it to Amory and she'll.
Okay, so you have your presentation on that.
Yeah, it's on
Okay.
this
I
one.
know in your agenda we have like a 5-minute file break. Would you want that right now or?
We could do it after. Well, actually, let's do presentation first.
Okay.
Then we could maybe even skip there. It's 15 minutes. Oh no, it is 5 minutes. Actually, how does everyone feel? Do we want a quick bio? We do. Okay. I see a nod. So we're actually going to do our bio break now, and then come back for Alicia's presentation afterward. We'll meet back here at 11:05. We'll do 6 minutes, and then go from there.
I had to be already 5 ago.
Okay, yeah,
Like,
it's probably
I
your
didn't know if
end.
we were gonna have one.
It wouldn't make sense to do it after.
But like how detailed you get with your units, and you were saying that sometimes in the units you have small cutouts for different activities. Do you, when you're doing like your different treatment activities, do you have different prescriptions for those for each unit you make, or do you have like a generalized like how detailed do you get on it?
Yeah, it really
Found my way in some.
depend on the
Like a
NEPA
litter box.
decision, how that NEPA was designed and laid out. For Trapper, actually I can show you some highly specific mapping that we did for some Trapper fuels. And this was basically working to identify slope restrictions, resource restrictions, and really have multiple treatments within an individual unit with different system types. Same contractor who was actually subbing out work. But I can show you, because this one will be a good idea of how technical some of these can be,
Yeah.
and how we could look at Graveyard, which is a little less technical.
And when you showed the pictures along Pike, was that like 469 or whatever you're saying? You showed the handwork.
Yeah.
Who was that crew?
We should just say
doing?
that at the end.
That crew at that time was Highlanders. They are
like
also
your-
like OEP.
Yeah, it's a beautiful title slide.
Thank you.
Did you make that or?
It's a template in PowerPoint.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I get lots of compliments on it, so I have like pretty much all my Van Norden.
We'll look at Market here because they had Market was one of the companies for
Here's lots of parts already.
filing.
How to blow this up for the students? I think you have to have the desktop up for it.
Yeah,
we
it seems,
have it
to me,
still?
it seems big enough. Like,
Okay.
I feel like we were able to see everything and
Me
We're
too,
just
bio
always
break to
seem to
satisfy
get,
my
like,
biological
screen
curiosity.
Overview here.
screen sharing, like, no matter what.
No, it's because it's in the browser. Something's in the app, but then you can blow it up on the screen and everything. So I don't know why, like, it's almost like.
Okay, here's a great example actually of all the complexity that we had going on in this project.
Weird.
This project was, this
Think an
particular
app now.
unit is broken down into a couple different sections. Actually, I'll show you the key here. So we've got our CSO buffers, our LOPs, and we have a couple different treatment types of spraying, that being mastication up to 10 inches, hand cut up to 10 inches, hand cut up to 6 inches, and hand cut up to 6 inches without hardwood removal. So one unit with 4 different treatments occurring on it.
And so that's
your
the
10-acre nest.
Yeah, exactly. So that's our 500-foot buffer. And then this is part of that unit inside that buffer that needed even more specific prescriptions.
And what are they?
That's when
What
it's
are the
useful to be
relative
there, but then
acreages?
when they start getting complicated.
Oh,
I
just
guess
looking
if
at
they-
pictures.
if that's a pack.
Yeah, 32 for the hand cut to 6, 169 for hand cut to 6.
So they're still,
15
they're still.
for-
fairly
Here.
common, right?
Oh, like for the
For our work.
Packer salmon? Yeah.
And then when, is this
Yeah.
contractor's map? Is this what they get? And then, so are they doing a different treatment here versus here in the mastication?
No, so this is the
Yeah. So much
LOP
needed.
itself. Yeah, sorry, limited operating period. And you can actually see this one gets complicated. We're actually
so
working
it's
in
just
2 limited
temporal.
operating periods. So that is
Guys,
just
is that-
recognition in a certain time frame we can't
You're
work in this
monitoring,
area.
right?
Yeah.
But then underneath are the treatments.
Cool. And so that's where the treatment type changed. That's where the treatment activities changed.
Yep, correct.
Yeah.
And that's not treatment.
Basically,
right?
just planning.
Nope,
out
that's
all
outside
our
of the unit.
area and plot, which we found a new protocol.
So
Different, yeah, so the difference in the one we did that.
Yeah, that one, we were adding a lot of stuff to make. it
That's
more
hand cut to 6.
Yeah.
And that's within the pack itself.
Yeah.
Kind of has that already worked
And
in.
then.
Okay.
So a lot of the
Is
same.
machine work?
Blue is the mastication, yep, and then the green is hand cut.
What's it called?
Kylie, what does
But
the
it's not-
AIM
it's
stand
not super
for?
detailed compared to what we do.
They just, I don't know the actual
We're
name, but
actually
it's
delineating
AIM and then
areas
it's,
within the
there's
mastication
like
unit where
3
they
different
use
types of
to
AIM. This one's the,
Mhm.
So
Uh,
that-
riparian
And that's
wetland.
kind of, here as well. So we've
I
got
guess
mastication
aquatic
hole and this one
something.
but they
actually
have a
had,
terrestrial AIM too.
it was like a
So I
steeper
think it's-
drainage
Yeah.
that they had to
Assessing-
transition to. And sometimes when you're.
It'd be cool to know.
It's okay. You don't.
I wanna know.
Assessment
Say,
inventory one.
it's
Okay.
even too steep to put.
I was like, assessment.
It's not worthwhile
Yeah, so.
us to
Kylie
bring
in
in this
summer, we're going
different
to, like,
system to treat
5-day
this
training
1
on
acre.
that
Cool.
soon.
How does,
And then.
for these projects, how do you
Awesome.
Hopefully
acreage
July.
finals for the payment?
Yeah, we will either
Does that
have
feed into the stuff TNC?
forester or the sale admin
A
do
little
a
bit, so
walkthrough, and
their
usually
functions are
if
very
it's
upland
um,
focused,
if
and
it's
they're very-
less than 5 acres, we
Focused
usually
functions.
will just
Always
come to an
very
understanding that
clarification,
like, okay, we'll just pay you
Yeah.
the full
And that could
footprint.
even be like
If it is greater than 5 acres,
Totally.
we'll typically go through and do like a GPS track
Yeah.
with Benza and actually cut out those areas that were not treated to get an idea of treated versus not, and what our drop acres will be.
Have you dealt with anywhere, and thank you for answering that question. Have you dealt with any situations where they change the treatment activity on the ground because of conditions that were
Yeah.
seen by the planners?
Yeah, absolutely.
Get out. Like some data and.
We run into situations all the time. It's a dynamic system. A great example was on the same project, we had a unit
We're talking about monitoring.
through
Oh.
a high
She's
mortality
asking if
event.
there's, like,
Bark beetle came in and
Like
basically
with
just
the-
devastated the stand.
Yeah.
It was too risky
Yeah.
to work in some areas with
LRP.
the treatment
they're like,
or with
annual
the hand crews.
Yeah, we will